Happy Friday, everybody. Josh here on The Wrong Lead, joined as always by Matt Carlson on another episode of You Gotta Be Sha Tinning Me. Matt, we got a good little pick three here. But before we talk about this, we do have to mention, we got to talk about beer. I saw you open the beer right before we started. So what are you sipping on there?
A little, quasi-local, little Jack's Abbey. They're out a little bit north of me, but they brew all lagers, and they've been in business for a long time, so they're a classic. But I opened their Imperial Porter, which 10%, but goes down a little bit easier than that. So
Goodness.
Yeah. Well, yeah, a little act aggressive, right? You took off January, you got to double down February. That's it. It's a short month. You gotta make up for lost time.
So here in Chicago, obviously Goose Island has been a really big part of the brewing scene for a very long time, and even after they got acquired by Anheuser-Busch. But they used to have two festivals. They used to have Belgian Fest and they used to have Stout Fest. They had other events and stuff, but those are the two that I always remembered going to. And they had various locations throughout the city. They actually, I think, just closed their original brew pub, which was on Clybourne. They've moved over. A couple years ago, they opened up a new brewery on the west side of the Chicago, and it's a beautiful space. It's really cool. If you're ever in Chicago, I think it's worth checking out. And then they have a very wide selection of previous years bourbon counties as well. So you get to try a bunch of different stuff. They have brewery only releases and stuff. But it's a really, really nice space. It's not that big, but it's just a cool place to get a beer. And it's real close to the west side of Chicago, the West Loop, which is for my money maybe the best area to like drink and eat in Chicago. I mean, some people like River North is nice too. They got a lot of restaurants up there, but West Loop is really cool. But it's a really cool spot. But this weekend I'll be going to Revolution, which picking up my allotment of beer there. So I decided not to go with beer tonight. I've actually been drinking. I mean, I think you might have shared this meme. I know somebody shared this meme. It's like the guy who like just I forget the name of the meme. It's like the black and white picture, and there's like a meter, right? And like the left hand side looks like just someone who's completely homeless. The middle I think is like a Jedi, and all the way on the right is like something else, right? Or no, maybe the middle is just like a smug guy, and all the way on the right's like a Jedi. Like it's like Galaxy Brain, if you can imagine. And all the way on the left is like Modelo, right? Right, and it shows the homeless, like the guy who looks like a wreck. Then in the middle is like all the craft beers. And then all the way on the right-hand side, the guy who's enlightened, once again, is drinking Modelo.
The bell curve with the...
Yeah. I forget what the name of the meme is. Someone, and I probably explained it very, very badly, but I've been drinking Michelob Ultras.
Nice.
Mostly because I can drink one or two of them, and it doesn't affect any of my current health issues and stuff that I got going on. So
according to your commercials, you can go run a half marathon after drinking a couple.
Yeah, so there you go.
Sports bra and go.
But I got a little bit of scotch tonight, so decided to change it up here. I don't know. This is an interesting pick three here. Let me get the PPs up here. And we talked a little bit beforehand, and I told you here in race 8, you'll never believe who I went with, to the point where you immediately said that you in no uncertain terms could take this horse. And I'm going back to the Dromberg Bannerwell here. You've informed me that I took this horse last time. Last time he ran going 7 furlongs. Slightly different course here, though. We got the rails out a little bit here. So, just looking at the pace projector for this race, they are saying a good to slow pace. So generally on those types of races, I do look to the front runners. And even just looking through the PPs, I mean the one might have a little bit of speed. Uh, Maybe the 6, the 9 has got a little bit, the 12 especially, but the 12 is stuck out in the 12 post, and the 2 here is right there on the rail. So you got rail speed, going 7 furlongs. I have a hard time. Have a hard time looking past that here. So I'm kind of a single A in this spot, to Dromberg Banner, and I'm going to see if I can get through this with just the one horse. But I know you went a different direction here.
Yeah, I mean, I went a couple. It's funny because I took the horse on the other side that I liked last time over Drum Big Banner. I took Superb Boy again, the 9. Drum Big Banner is obviously, I think, the lone speed. I thought Superb Boy would press last time. He actually didn't, kind of laid off and showed some more tactical speed, which I thought was impressive. Both are kind of picking up weight, so I don't love them. I don't love either of them in this case. I think you can make an argument that neither of them are all that good, but really, there's not a lot else that is going to press the pace here. I think my eyes probably went towards who's probably going to go off as your favorite, the 11 Global Harmony, and I think on figs alone, that horse looks good enough on paper. It should relish the lighter weight. It should relish the move up in class, even though it's facing theoretically tougher here. But this isn't a field of world beaters, and I think obviously that horse is going to take a lot of money, but probably is going to be the deserving favorite. You mentioned you mentioned the exact thing that I wrote down. A couple concerns for this horse. It wants to come from the way back. It's a deep, deep closer, and it's racing on a course where the rails are way out. So it's going to be sitting in 14th. It's going to be setting up against a slow pace. There's a lot of things against it. I hope it's still good enough, but I think it's a must use. But maybe probably if you're looking for where to put your money, maybe it will be overbet. So kind of iffy on that 11. I also went a little bit to the 5, and I didn't know what to do with the 5. I kind of said last week that I don't like horses that win on a different surface and then change everything they're doing and go else. But of course, I mean, if anyone's used to listening to me now, you know that I change what I want to do week to week. So just because I say something, that means I'll do the exact opposite the next week. So here's one example of it. I'll probably have another one by the end of this too.
Welcome to
That
podcasting.
yeah, exactly. Just it's the beauty of giving out things is don't do what I say, or it's week to week. Just listen to something different. Don't remember that last episode. Just remember what I tell you now. I have no idea what this horse wants to do. I don't know the surface. I don't know distance wise. This might be too far. But all the races from a fig perspective, at least in the way I run it, it stands out massively. Like it should be 2 to 3 lengths faster than any other horse, regardless of surface, the way it's theoretically been running. So I like the 5 as well. I think the 11 and 5 to me are A's. I think I'll let you bet Draw McBanner, and I'll take Superb Boy on the pace battle. And then last one that I'll throw in, just because, Cherry, you know me, I love a good shit horse, and the, the shittiest horse I can find in this field is the one second up off a 2-year layoff, coming back. I'm probably crazy to like this, but it's dropping in class. They're running it back after 7 days. Maybe it's picking up some fitness. I mean, I'm one of those guys that works out once, and I feel like the second time I work it out, I'm bulletproof, right? You run on a treadmill one time, and you're like, all of a sudden the lungs are back, right? It's getting that fitness back in it. So you'll get 1,000,000 to 1 on this horse. I guarantee it. It might finish out the back. It might still be running by the time race 9 goes off, but you might get the right price too. So second up off a 2-year layoff, dropping in class, give me the 1 good luck friend as a deep, deep B. And if that hits, you'll be rolling in some money for sure. So
I mean, you're braver than I, going with that one. But hey,
I love back class, and that 2 years is the backest class I could find.
I mean, that's definitely some back class. I mean, hasn't been seen since the start of the fall 22 campaign. So, but yeah, I'm staying narrow here. You're spreading a little bit, but we move on to the Miss Hong Kong pageant handicap, and we're gonna be going 9 furlongs here. It's still only a 1-turn race, but you know, I looking at this race, I kind of had a hard time looking past the 4 horse Simple Hedge in this spot. Obviously lost last time as the favorite to Kai Generation. Comes back here and is got cutting back a furlong. Hasn't run this distance. Seems to I don't know how often they run this distance. It doesn't seem like a very common distance. You usually see a lot of a mile and shorter, and then you see the occasional like 2,000. But kind of running once again one of those kind of I think weird distances, those unicorn distances here. But this horse is coming in with pretty decent form. Obviously, only missed by a neck last time, but was the favorite. Keep Zach aboard, which I think is always a positive. But if you kind of look at this race, I think you see a horse that is able to close in very very fast fashion. And kind of looking at this race, I was a little concerned that there might be a bit of pace in this race, I think. So I kind of wanted somebody coming from, I think, a little bit off. I think the 4 Simple Hedge is going to sit, mid pack. And I thought, with Zach staying aboard, that this horse is going to be kind of tough to beat. I think the 2 horses just drawn to the inside, or not drawn to the inside, but the 2 and the 3 horse here are drawn inside. They're drawn in the 3 and the 4 posts, and I think these are horses that might get similar trips to this 4 are going to be sitting that tracking trip, but with the inside draw, I think they have a little bit of advantage. The 2 moments in time was interesting to me as a 4-year-old here. Obviously, ran in a restricted 4-year-old race last time, and didn't run particularly well, but was also just a humongous price in that race. Is coming back here to Class 3, where last time ran in Class 3 at Happy Valley, ran second by a neck here. So I think you're going to get you expect a better effort out of Moments in Time. As kind of a younger horse in this field, I thought was a little bit interesting if it could maybe take a step forward off that last effort. And then the 3 Woodfire Bro, I thought for the same reasons, is going to be another horse that's going to be just up off the pace, and is another horse that has shown some ability to close in very, very fast fashion. So, the last couple times seems to have kind of finished evenly, not really made up a ton of ground. But if you look at some of those closing times, I mean, 3 back closed in 22 and 5, or 22.5. So, I think if this one, being drawn inside, I think is going to help. Obviously, had that trip last time, and I think he ran pretty decently. Dead heated for third. So I don't know. I thought the 2 and the 3, kind of dropping here in class, were both a little bit interesting. But I think the 4 Simple Hedge is going to be pretty tough. Where did you kind of land, Matt?
Yeah, I think the 4 Simple Hedge is probably my lone A as well. For a lot of the same reasons. I think it's set up for this. I think you've seen it bounce around distances. I do think it needs the distance, but probably also may prefer 1 turn. Right, it had that 2-turn race last out, but it's looked pretty good at a mile. I don't think the step up to an extra eighth is gonna be too hard on it. So I was lone A in the 4. I looked at the 6 really hard, but the 6 or Packing Hurricane, the 1-turn races just don't look there. I think it needs that 2-turn setup. If you see it running a mile, I don't even know if it's run 1800, but at least going shorter hasn't really done much. So I think for me that was a toss. I'll have a couple weak Bs. I think the horse that stuck out, I do think Form Guide or Speed Pro had it kind of a slow pace. It had it at least
Yeah,
really slow. And it has that 2 on the lead. I didn't really want to go to the 2. I was much more interested in the 9 from a pace perspective. If you look at the 9 Enigma, that horse did make the lead last time, so it ran out. And because of the bug up, it's getting 20 pounds on that too. And the longer the race, I think the more weight matters in this case. It's running at 112 pounds, and you could be a pretty average horse and look pretty good when you're running at 112 pounds. So that's 20 pounds on moments in time. That's such a huge weight break that to me, I think if you wanted a horse that was going to get on the lead and wire, and again, we've explained this before, right? I mean, just on the time this goes off, we're probably asleep by the time you figure out how the track is playing.
Yep.
Last week it, you know, last week I think it played, way from the back, right? You wanted to be in last place, and some really bad horses ended up winning. I think that's why, I think I went 0 for 3 last week. I think you did too. It was just a mess. I think it paid $5,600 for a dollar or something like
Yeah.
that. But so who knows how the course is going to be playing now? But if for whatever reason it is playing forward, I think that 9 was one that I looked towards and just saying, okay, if there's a course that's going to wire, it's going to be that running at 112. The only other horse I thought you could maybe make a case for if you wanted to stretch and bet some huge prices was maybe the 8, Devildom. And again, this is a horse that's only run 2 turns twice. That was a really fast race last time at 2000. I don't know. The trials have looked okay for the horse. If it's a horse that wants distance but maybe doesn't take the 2 turns, again, one of those things where you tilt your head sideways. It's going to be a huge price. If you don't like any of the horses in here, hey, why not take a horse you don't know if it doesn't like the 1-turn configuration or not yet? So maybe as a very weak B, you're on a kind of a backup ticket. I'll play the 8 as well, just kind of a toss in. But I think most of my money will be through the 4, much like you in this case.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm thinking of the next race where the pace looks pretty fast. Yeah, and so the 2 and the 3 are going to be sitting, I think, pretty close. And I kind of was kind of playing the pace angle on them, hoping that maybe, hey, these guys, being close up on the pace, maybe somebody falls asleep at the wheel. You make a really good point about the 9, though. Getting all that weight. One horse I don't think we talked about, but a quick look on paper looks pretty good, is the 7, Simply Maverick. Did you give this one any a shot at? I know it's a Happy Valley horse here and coming up to Sha Tin, but I mean, if you look at that recent form, it looks pretty good.
Yeah, I thought it was okay. Just the couple things against it. I don't love at Zenny all that much, and to
What happened
me,
to the last jock that you said you didn't like?
we'll get to that next race. Okay. So don't steal my thunder. You're bearing the lead on the next discussion. Um, eh, to me, it looks like a Happy Valley horse, right? And I would have said the same thing last week about how deep is your love, and that's why I didn't hit anything in the last pick 3. But all that form is at Happy Valley going 2 turns, and this is a 1-turn race. And the races in October that this horse ran at 1 turn looked terrible, right? And so, to me, I didn't want to bet it based on the money I thought it would take. It's picking up weight because of all the wins. It's got a terrible draw out in the 11 post. It's got to, navigate that. It's got to do something that I don't think it really wants to do. So to me, that was a toss. But I've been wrong before. So maybe it did find something between, October and November, and maybe it can carry that form back into Sha Tin. But I don't know. Watch the board, I guess, on that one.
All right, let's move on to the last race where I know you got a story to tell here.
So I've been bashing Lyle Hewitson for 1, maybe 2 weeks at this point, and I've been tossing his horses. I always say, hey, I will adjust the things I pull into my figs, and something that I started to pull in was actually, jockey numbers, right? And how they perform on different surfaces, how they've been the last 50, et cetera. And I was like, Lyle Hewitt's a 2% jock. Like he's not doing anything. There's no way I'd bet him, toss his horses, et cetera. And I think between him and Brandon Abdullah, I tossed most of them. Even if the horses looked okay, I was like, okay, just they haven't been winning. They're underperforming. They're not worth their weight. Get rid of them and trim some tickets and don't do anything. And lo and behold, last week, Brandon Abdullah wins back-to-back races. I think races 9 and 10 in the late pick 3. And then at Happy Valley this week, Lyle Hewitson wins back-to-back races immediately, and just throws a huge wrench back into my stats. So I reverted back my code. I don't pull that anymore. I don't even look at jocks. Right? I'm sick of doing that. There's no reason to do that. And I think it's an important lesson probably for me to say, yes, you're going to have jocks that do underperform, and yes, sometimes they will take horses that look like they're much the best and you know give them a very poor ride, and you know you'll end up in a very sorry state because of that, right? But on the flip side, right, sometimes those jockeys have great ROIs because they don't win that much. Anyone, some of our friends follow Turfway pretty intently, and I think Farron Peterson is a jock that also domestically I would say, hey, she's not, she doesn't do anything. And then I think 6 months ago she came out with this post like, Farron Peterson on horses greater than 10-1 has an ROI of 90% or something like that. I'm like, that's got to be bullshit. Like, there's no way. And I ran some numbers, and she's dead on. If you bet her on all weather, if you bet her on synthetic, you get like a $4 ROI on betting her to win, and she wins like 2% of the time. But she's winning on bombs because no one's betting her because they think she stinks.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, right? I mean, you got to remember this is a gambling game, and even if someone's underperforming, if the price is still worth it, if they're on a horse that can win, don't just chuck it because you think someone's a 0%. 4% is still 4%, or 2% is still 2%. If you're getting 50-1, that's still profit. So, not that they're always riding 50-1, but you get my point.
Yeah.
It's watch the price. Don't just automatically chuck them like I did, or else at your own peril, right? Just betting Zach all the time is an easy way to go, but probably not the most profitable angle. So
Yeah, I mean, like look at Gulfstream, right? How many times have you looked at Gulfstream earlies and you see a horse that IRED's on, and you're like, wow, this horse is going to be 2-1. Like, all right, let me look at other horses, and then you get to post time, and he's 9-2, or he's 7-2. It's like, yeah, if you think that horse is going to be 2-1, and right, all of a sudden floats up to a different price, and all of a sudden this other horse who you didn't like is like taking a bunch of money, like, yeah, your opinion changes, right? Every horse has a price, even if I'd probably bet Cody's Wish if he was 10-20-1 maybe, as much as everyone knows how much I did not like Cody's Wish. But yeah, and the same thing happens here, right? I think you sometimes get, if you get too pigeonholed, right? I'm betting Zach all the time. Next thing you know, you're betting every single horse that's 2-1 on the card. But yeah, I did not end up on the Lyle Hewitson horse in this spot though. So I'm going to continue the fade. Yeah, I talking about the last race. I kind of confused the pace scenarios. I think this is going to be a faster pace. If you kind of look at this, I think the 2 obviously wants to get on the lead, is drawn in the 4 post. I think the 7 has shown some speed. The 10 has shown speed. The 11 has shown speed. And I think you get a couple of horses here that are going to want. I think that they're going to set up for some of these horses that are going to want to come from further out. I think in particular the 3 and the 4, Adafil and So Joy. Both of these horses, I think, do need a bit of a setup in order to win, and I think they're going to get it here. I mean, both of these horses have closed in their last couple of races, coming from pretty far out of it, and I think they're going to get the same setup here. I mean, if you look at the 4, So Joy, is in the 7 post here, closed in the win from the 11 post last time out. And the 3 who had a better post and just missed going second, but 2 back won, closing in on a relatively kind of strong pace. So I think the three I have written down as an A, the 4 I have as a B, and the only other real horse I did like was the 12 Frantank. And this was more of a, hey, if the pace doesn't materialize as fast as I think it will, I think this is your most likely winner to sit that pressing trip, sit in that second or third flight of horses, and you get Zach aboard. And I think this is a horse that can sit just off the pace and close in, is going to get a nice draw in the two post. And I mean, Zach is getting what? He's carrying 120 here. So he's getting 15 pounds on the top two horses in this race. So you get the best jock on the grounds. You get a very very I think positive pace scenario for this horse, because he's going to sit just off if the last two races on the all weather have shown anything, and he's going to get a little bit of pace in front of him. So with the good draw, I think the 12 is going to be hard to leave off. I know he's probably going to go off as your favorite in this spot, but I just don't really want anything to do with any of the horses that are going to be forwardly placed, especially like horses like the 2 or the 10 in this spot. So I'll be 12 and 3 as A's, and I'll use the 4 as a B. Matt, where did you land?
Yeah, I thought the 2, the 3, and the 4, at least on kind of the figs that I pull, and I think I've said it before, for the dirt especially, I tend to rely more just on flat figures rather than trying to project pace and everything like that. So I thought those were all probably the most competitive or had the best dirt form in here. The 4, I thought, So We Joy, just off the wind, was picking up too much weight, right? Adding 8 pounds kind of set that horse back, even though it wasn't a wide draw last time. So I tried to go elsewhere off that. I thought that last race stood out, but I thought would probably regress, or just kind of got the perfect setup last time for that, and you know maybe wouldn't carry through this time. And so I went to the 2 and the 3, just based on kind of form alone in that last race. Right, I thought, even though it looks a little fast, that pace scenario, that shared race on January 24th, was incredibly fast as well. And so I thought, you know, again, Lyle Hewitson aside, it had some excuses. So I thought, the 2 potentially could wire, even if it was an average or even above average pace scenario. I thought that was a pretty good race, holding on for third even after it kind of ran out well. And same with the 3 Adafel, right? If it does fall apart, I thought the 3 and the 4 kind of closed about the same last time, or kind of were sitting in the same position at second call. And so, the 3 not picking up any weight or picking up 1 pound versus the 4 picking up 9 pounds, I would just lean more towards the 3 in that case. So those are probably the 2 primary picks I would take. Beyond that, I'm still kind of salty from getting burned a couple weeks back in the dirt, not knowing how to cap this. Again, sometimes the problem with not drinking for a month is your memory improves, and I couldn't remember 2 weeks back when I got burned by getting screwed on the dirt race, my last leg. So I'll throw in a couple other ones here. I wanted to use the 8, Leslie. Leslie's never run on dirt at all. There's no dirt pedigree that I can see. The sire's never even run on dirt at all. The trials don't look good on dirt, so who knows? With all that, I thought this horse was improving. I thought, I had a note back in early January. I think I talked about this horse. It was a horse that seemed to be improving week to week out, right? Those closing figures had looked better and better with each successive race. And even though the last race at Sha Tin didn't look good, I thought this was a horse that, potentially could find some form. Granted, the draw sucks here. Who knows? This horse might hate the surface, whichever. But I've been burned on horses having never tried the surface before, and all of a sudden, really taking to it once they get on. So I thought I would use it, and again, you probably get a pretty good price on it just because the couple of results last couple haven't looked too good. So we'll see. But I did want to use that, and then same with the 11. The 11 Amazing Duck. The trials for the dirt races have looked good. The races themselves have looked horrible. So I don't know if this is just a horse that's one of those that performs really well in trials and then gets to game day and doesn't run a lick. But all those one turn races have, or sorry, all those dirt races have been at one turn, And so you extend out to the 1650 here, you get 2 turns. They've been gradually increasing the distance. It went from 6 to 7, now 7 up to 8 and change. Maybe they're trying to build some fitness into this one, and maybe it's getting towards what it wants to do. So, I take a flyer on the 11 as well. I think maybe catching a price based on kind of rounding up into form at a low weight.
So you didn't like the 12 at all, huh?
I tried to get around it. Based on the things that I pull, it just looks slow, right? And again, I go very much on times based on dirt. I think dirt is very. I say that, and then I haven't had a dirt race to save my life all year. But just based on times, it honestly, compared to the 2 and the 3, looks about 6 to 7 like slower than them. And I'll probably eat my words because it's Zach, and it'll show something that it's never done before. But it's out of Frankel. I don't really think of Frankel as a dirt horse, and regardless of the form it shows, right? It obviously did okay last out, but it just didn't do it for me. So even if it takes money, I think that's going to be overbet just based on Zach alone, as we talked about. We talked about the jockey game a little bit. So
hey, you might just get value by avoiding the Zach horse.
there you go.
But did you look at anything else on the card, or I know I haven't tricked you with that question lately, but anything else on here that you were looking at?
No, I haven't yet. I've had kid aggro all week, so it was even a race to look at these 3 races so far. So plus the way I've been doing, unfortunately, I think at Happy Valley the past couple of weeks, I've hit 1 out of 10 races, which have been profitable. But you got to find the one winner and the diamond, otherwise in a pile of shit. So. And I fortunately set my alarm for where I am 5:15 in the morning, placed a bet, hit race 1, and then didn't hit anything for the rest of the card. So, but, we'll see if I can continue that streak of having one profitable race that floats the whole day. But maybe I'll do a little bit better this time. We'll see. So.
All right. Well, it's going to do it for us here on You've Got to Be Sha Tinning Me. Check us out at onthewronglead.com, at wrong_lead on Twitter. I'm at Cherry Drank. You can catch Matt at Slow and Steadied. He posts his full card picks on there for both Happy Valley and Sha Tin, so you can check that out. And catch you guys next week. Have a good one.
What?